Hey everybody, welcome back to our weekly podcast. My name is Patrick Tan, the General Counsel for ChatArgos, the blockchain analytics firm made famous for discovering the under-collateralization of Binance's BUSD stablecoin. With me, as usual, is my partner in crime, Jonathan Reiter, our CEO and Chief Data Scientist. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to our weekly podcast. Thank you for all the comments, the likes, the shares. Really appreciate that. And this week, what do we have to talk about, John? I think we've got four interesting...
Yeah, so the SEC took some actions on an NFT project, Stoner Cats. That is an interesting situation.
Right.
We may even have different opinions on.
Possible.
Genesis has stopped all trading activities, which is an interesting update. And then another little brief review on
immutable smart contracts. Yeah, we need to talk about those because, look, we get it. It's not an easy to understand area, but if you're going to disagree with us, maybe just kind of do a bit of homework. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Finally, we'll talk a little bit because we are broadcasting to you from a bunker in Singapore, and TOKEN2049 I've been told is happening in the outside world right now, so we don't know, but we'll find. I mean, that's what we've heard from the bunker.
Somewhere that way, I think.
So, what our comments on that? We've attended some of the parties on the side. We've attended some of the functions and the events. We'll give you a little bit of an update about that as well. So wait, let's just jump straight into it. SEC Stoner Cat. What the heck is that about?
Stoner Cat. So this is an NFT project, and they're alleging that it's a unregistered securities offering, and they have to pay I think they have to return the $8 million they raised and pay $1 million fine. But what's interesting about this one is that these things are not pretending they have any real utility, or at least this is not necessarily a white paper that was made up to make it look like it's not a security. These people, I do not think, trying to build that version of investment contract. So I don't know where we're going to draw the line on some of this. Collectibles are not securities. I'm not saying these are collectibles. I'm just saying some of these projects are starting to get pretty close to things that do look like a weird gray area.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I struggle with that one a bit because they never pretended to be, of anything of value.
Yeah, if it's totally vacuously. Look, there's the famous Potter Stewart comment about, pornography. I know when I see it, but there's no actual written down description of what this is. If it's going to turn out that the end of the securities entrance to collectibles area is that kind of a gray area, that's not going to make anybody happy. And I will say, as regards the pornography stuff in the U.S., everybody should watch The People versus Larry Flint. The U.S. went through decades of it being unclear where the line really was. And that, in some sense, is resolved now, but wasn't kind of good for anybody. It's a wonderful movie. Woody Harrelson does a fantastic job. You should watch it.
But that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? Like, so let's there is a test for securities. There's a legal test. It was established.
There are people who would argue that some versions of collectibles pass that test as securities. There are people who design stuff to be collected as collectibles. What were those the figurines that the money laundering guys were arrested?
Bebricks.
I mean, to be fair, those projects are set up and launched in a way that is not entirely dissimilar. I mean, I can see someone claiming, well, then that's a security if this is. And they're not identical, but we are starting to get to a little bit of I know when I see it situation that is not good for anybody. I don't know.
I think the jury remains out on this one. I feel like...
There's going to be a jury, right? That's the
correct.
point. So this is literally a matter for a jury, so fair enough. Right?
I feel that, I don't feel like, I definitely want to cross over into that point where, we get into the security side of things, and I don't, there is a clear test. I think this is one of those that I struggle.
I mean, if it's going to turn out that something that has no physical manifestation, does that matter? Like if it's a piece of art that's actually a physical piece of art versus, I don't know. I was a little surprised that this is the direction they're choosing to pursue, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because there's some stuff that's much more important.
This doesn't seem like something this is not the route I would pursue. Exactly that.
I mean, generally speaking, enforcement proceeds in waves of there's some difficulty for them to figure out how to do the enforcement, and then it's just cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the same as all the other unregistered securities offerings, settlements, and pursuit. They're not going after network operator, money transmitter. It seems more substantive.
It seems like you should go after the low-hanging fruit. Why are you wasting time on something that, first of all, it's not very big?
Well, it's low-hanging. It's so low-hanging. It's not,
I mean, first of all, it's not very big. Second of all, it's not that clear-cut.
Yeah, no, and I don't know that that's going to dissuade people. Look, maybe it will. Maybe if the argument is anything in this space that even looks vaguely like it might be a security, we're going to scare you into settling. That is maybe not a fantastic legal system, but it is also maybe a reasonable description of the...
Yeah, it could be the strategy here as well.
That I wouldn't be wild about overall. It would be nice if they'd go after some of the larger, more systematic... systemic... Well, both systematic and systemic sorts of problems.
Okay, tell me a little bit about Genesis.
Yeah, so Genesis announced this is really a surprise, stopping all trading activities entirely, all digital asset trading activity, whatever. I'm sure they're still doing the... oh, no, they're no longer the authorized participant for any of those stuff. So maybe they're totally unwilling.
Yep.
I mean, you can make an argument that they've been insolvent since, May the 10th, 2022, and they should have ceased all trading activities and have been trading while insolvent that entire time. I'm not saying as a legal matter that's true, but in some sense that's definitely true.
Yeah.
I mean, whether they knew it yet or not is a different thing. Yeah, them stopping, they were the biggest, longest running operator. So either there's going to be a new biggest, longest running operator, or there ain't going to be a lot of large operators. That's a tautology because they were the biggest, longest running operator. So, yeah, interesting. It certainly suggests that they're coming close to trying to tie the end off on that whole debacle, and everybody keeps whatever money they've got left and move on. Right? They agree their settlement and finish. The company is of no value if it's closed. Trading operations that are closed are worth zero. So inventory, but so.
Licenses.
I don't know that they even have, or they have some basic U.S. broker-dealer stuff, but you can get, those are not expensive.
Yeah, those are not,
Oh, yeah, like their red cap was $15,000 or something, like these are small operations.
Yeah, so it's not... It's not something that people pay a premium for because you could get that on your own.
Yeah, I don't think that's worth any money. I think you'd want to set up a clean one because people may not know this. If you go to FINRA BrokerCheck in the U.S., the thing that lists all whatever securities, the brokers and people who are brokers and everything, it gives you the sort of enforcement action histories. And if the panel in, I think it's the upper left, isn't green, it's yellow, it means there were actions. And if it's red, it means they were booted from the industry. And you don't want to buy someone that has a yellow. Buying someone with a red is obviously pointless. You want to buy someone maybe with a green, and I'm pretty sure they're a yellow because they had that GBTC stuff from a long time ago.
Yep.
So that's not worth any money. Because small brokers are in fact not like large banks. Large banks pay fines all the time. Small equity brokers and whatnot, the smaller ones, people are constantly paying fines. They're not the world's highest quality operators in many cases. No one really buys them other than other low quality operators. And then, equity brokerage stuff is supposed to be very, very, very mild. Any significant difficulty, no one will buy your license. So there you go.
There you go. Next thing on the agenda, immutable smart contracts, because we have to talk about this.
It came up again.
It came up again. It seems like... I feel like it's a refusal to understand.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so maybe there are some slightly more subtle points, because some of these things are Twitter or blog posts. It's not a computer science 2-hour-long lecture. There are some situations... Okay, so the way most of these blockchains work, when you publish a smart contract, that contract itself cannot be changed. There are ways to use indirection, to have sort of a central contract redirector, and then that thing can be updated. Fine. Whether that allows you to then take control over the funds that were in the previous version of the already deployed contract depends on the exact details. But certainly you're able to take control of the protocol overall and redirect future incoming deposits and rearrange stuff within the system. I don't remember who it was on Twitter who pointed out that you could have different degrees of control, whatever mutability of these things. And while that's true in a sort of theoretical sense, in practice it's not really true, because in a Turing-complete smart contracting language you'd have to try extremely hard, and I don't mean like writing long code. I mean you would need to construct a restricted version of the language to restrict the amounts of update you could publish. So not really. You can break the functionality up in ways where the custody and control of the already deposited assets is separate from the new deposited assets. But you can still turn off the protocol if it's upgradable at all, and under the law in most of the world, I don't let you know what the situation is here. That means you're in charge, right? I mean, generally...
I don't think it, to be fair, I don't think it really matters what this place thinks. But,
no, but I just mean as an example of a non-U.S. system.
Correct, yeah. But, I mean, the U.S. is the one who's actively going after all these things.
Yeah, no, that's
and I think that's the one that's going to
The European rules are definitely control is considered.
Control is considered something.
That's Frank Herbert, right? Power to destroy.
And the funny thing is that whilst some might argue like different degrees of control, what are the things that you can control, what are the things you can't control, that doesn't really apply in this case.
Yeah, there aren't usually meaningful protocols where people have made an effort to do that. What is it? Base is like 8 or 10 different components, all of which is upgradable.
Yep.
If 3 of the 8 were not upgradable, it might be really difficult to work out exactly what you can and can't change. By the way, no one please deploy a system like that because it's going to be a real pain in the ass to figure out how it works. But if you have a large number of contracts, all of which can be upgraded, you just morally, whatever, in some math sense, you just have one contract because you could just munge them all together and update them. It's fine. If some of them can't be changed, maybe you have to do some analysis. We're not pretending that we've analyzed every single protocol that exists.
Yes.
When we talk about this stuff, we'll say this protocol, this contract, this version, whatever. So I don't know. I think a lot of people believe that a smart contract is a thing that can never be updated. And that's only certain types of smart contracts in certain contexts. In the same way people use the word decentralized when, like, you can't just call it that. This is not that kind of pronouns conversation. These are things that either are or are not because they're math or legal constructs.
Are you suggesting that they're binary?
No. Some of these things are either a type of a true-false or whatever, but, something is either red or green or blue or whatever it is, and you can't just decide that it's a different color. It doesn't work that way. So the technical details of whether something is an immutable smart contract or not are important. And I suspect there's going to be some incredibly boring expert witness testimony in a court at some point dealing with some of this stuff. And I feel sorry for whoever has to manage that.
It feels like for so many of these guys, especially now on the sidelines of TOKEN2049 in Singapore, that, John, if you believe it, it's immutable.
You are going to have people whose defense is that they thought that it wasn't the way that it was. Yeah, and in some cases that works, in some cases it doesn't.
That's called the George Costanza defense.
Yeah, what is it? It's not a lie if you believe it.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
That is George Costanza is maybe... There's the Shaggy defense, which is it wasn't me.
Yeah.
So I guess there's the George Costanza defense, which is I just believed it wasn't a problem because, I don't know. It's going to be weird for somebody to say that. If you're not a technical person, you may be able to get away with, in the same way the advice of counsel stuff, right? Like, the lawyer told me this was right. Yeah. The programmer told me this was... so maybe for project leader, founder,
that's
whatever.
Interesting.
But very few of these people are non-technical.
Correct.
So, certainly if they wrote code but didn't know, it's still your responsibility to understand.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because in such a piece of litigation, you would go really down to the weeds, and then you'd have to... I don't know whether or not a court or any counsel is actually prepared to go down to that level of detail, whether they understood that particular line of code was the one that actually handed over control to the originator contract and stuff like that.
It seems inevitable that there will be an immutability
discussion
dispute like
especially
that
given that the SEC seems to be gunning for all the DeFi stuff.
This is... your only defense for a lot of these things is... I didn't publish this contract. I just wrote it, and it can never be updated. So, which is true, right?
Yeah.
If you write some Solidity, whatever thing, and stick it on GitHub, somebody else deploys it. Nobody seems to think that's your problem. But you're going to have to establish that was the case. Right?
Well, so obfuscate, right? Obviously, you want to obfuscate.
Okay. There's a whole separate conversation about how you maybe should or should not discuss your plans for obfuscating this in public and on YouTube and the rest of it. It's pretty funny. But I don't know. It's weird to see sort of technical issues like that litigated, but it's probably going to have to happen once or twice. I don't know.
All right. Finally, so we're broadcasting from Singapore in a bunker, and TOKEN2049 happening in this city.
We're quite far above ground, actually, but anyway.
TOKEN2049, what did you think?
Wait, so we went to some events around the sides and whatnot and various stuff. I interviewed some WorldCoin people, actually, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
What I found most interesting in that discussion, because that's a very controversial project.
Correct.
Right?
They brought the orbs.
People were signing up for stuff with the orbs, whatever. We got to check at it. And
we have T-shirts.
We have T-shirts. These were technical people. One guy was marketing, but like technical marketing, and one guy was developer relations.
Yep.
Technical people. Yeah, so it's interesting to have a substantive technical conversation with folks from a project that has a lot of controversy in other directions. I mean, the software does something. It has a roadmap to be upgraded into something,
Yep.
right? So we talked about that. That was interesting. I didn't really know, in part because most of the coverage around WorldCoin is about the orb and the political problems and the whatever, which are, legitimate news issues in the world. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know. I need to spend some time thinking about what I think of what their software could do, independent of like the scanning people's eyeballs and giving them tokens, which you got to admit isn't, sounds suspicious, right?
Like sounds sinister.
Well-intentioned or not, whatever,
Yeah,
but like
correct.
it certainly
sounds sinister.
Yeah.
But it was a technical discussion.
Yeah, technical discussion is fine.
I thought it was very, very civilized.
Software is fine.
I think from a software perspective, no notes.
I mean, it's the overall setup is a bit like the way OAuth works. So when you go to sign into one web page and a little pop-up comes up, you click your Google account. It's the workflow that drives that.
Yeah.
Look, having them run a separate registry that's kind of like the way you have a Google account or whatever account you can do OAuth tokens on, and then integrating with various services easily. Like OAuth works fine. I don't have a problem with an additional registry of logins. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Do I want it tied to my eyeballs and not revocable? But the technical stuff, they're aware of revoking keys, and there's a plan to change some stuff. Again, this has nothing to do with the token portion of the project. I'm not wild about the fact that my Google account is the thing I use to log into lots of stuff, or my 4 different Google accounts. So yeah, okay, you're welcome to compete in the login ID OAuth credentials. I mean, they use OID, which is exactly the same underlying software stuff. All right, I'm not going to be logging in with my eyes. Look, people log into Windows with their face scan, fingerprint, whatever. So I don't. I'm not sure anybody has a good solution to that problem, but it was interesting to hear that side of it. It's nice that they're following OAuth, by the way, and not making up something from scratch that doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
So I do have to credit that one.
So outside of that interview, what did you think about the other stuff? So we just to be clear, right? We did not go on the floor of Token2049.
That is correct.
But we attended a lot of the side events.
Stuff between Monday, Tuesday, and evenings is enough. I have some work to do.
Yeah, so we attended all the evening events, which we were invited to. Drinks were pretty good yesterday night. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I will say I was at some stuff last year. You've done this longer than I have. The average age was higher, and I would say the median amount of experience in some version of finance was maybe even above zero, actually.
Yeah.
It was certainly, more people in that background than before, as in more than 50% of people that I encountered had some kind of finance, whatever. Whether that's a good sign, bad sign, there are people who would say that's just the industry being kneecapped and turned into traditional finance with a different set of names. I'm not taking a position on whether or not that's what's happening, but these are people. I don't know, money transfers or money transfers.
You say that like it's a bad thing. So.
No, you're not going to do payment services without some people that used to work at payment services companies. Fair enough, right? I don't know. I mean,
so what we heard, what I heard at least from people who had actually attended on the floor, is that there were not less people than last year. So, I guess that's good-ish because there hasn't been a drop-off in attendance.
It was expensive, so there's clearly a reason for people willing to pay for it.
Yeah, it was really expensive. Also because the F1 race is coming this week, so I think some people, no, that's not true. Most people who attended Token2049 couldn't afford to stay on because the hotel rooms get really expensive.
The hotel rooms are absurdly expensive. Yeah, this weekend in Singapore is a bit of a
So a lot of the guys who attended Token2049 would have been left by now already.
Yeah.
Because the free practice and all the rest of the racing stuff is already started. So,
Yeah.
So the hotel rooms will be expensive from tonight onwards. But I would say that's the observation I had as well. It seems like I had more so-called adult conversations. I met some real lawyers. This time around, a lot more than I recall the last time.
Oh, okay. The lawyers I don't speak to because there's no.
Yeah.
Oh, that one guy we spoke to last night. These are like your age or older lawyers that have 20 years of lawyer experience.
Correct.
23-year-old.
Real. Yeah. As opposed to like really young guys who maybe had like 5 years or 6 years after getting called to the bar and just like it was different. I'd say it was different.
I mean, this is not meant to be criticism of young people or young lawyers. The point there is, if law is very much about having experience working through stuff.
Correct.
And it's hard to understand how somebody could have a extremely non-consensus view that's well argued if they haven't beaten their head against the law for quite a while.
Yeah.
Right. This is not like other fields where you really do have to work through that one.
And you kind of have to know, like, you have to have a bit of market experience. You have to have a bit of experience with clients and stuff like that. So it was interesting to see that the average lawyer age that was, they were just getting a bit, there were more mature guys on the space.
Is that just larger law firms starting to be more willing to cover people in the space, or had these guys left large law firms and went to small ones to cover the space?
Okay, so the handful of lawyers I spoke to, and I won't mention which firms they're from. They're not. Oh well, it could be that they're looking for litigation. So it could be that. It hadn't occurred to me until now.
It occurred to me, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it could be that they're looking for clients, either to sue, to be sued, or to involve in a class action. So that could probably be what that is.
I will say, I did speak to more than 0 American lawyers that I now realize may have been.
Yeah, they could. They
didn't. Nobody said that to me, but.
So it could be that was what that was, because now I think back about it, it seemed like there was a disproportionate number of attorneys, than I've ever seen. Yeah, so
it's not like these events were mobbed. But I don't know. 5 years ago, there were probably no lawyers at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there would have been a handful, and they wouldn't have been like a meaningful thing. So, but yeah, so that's it. That's all we have for you this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your likes, subscribes. If you have any comments, please hit us up on the comment section down below. Otherwise, smash that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate when you do that. Otherwise, we'll see you again next Friday. I know you. Some of you guys have written to us privately. Thank you for looking forward to the episodes. We enjoy making them for you as much as you enjoy watching them. And as you can see, new mics. So I know some of you complained about the audio.
We have matching mics. Yeah, we got better audio.
We got better audio.
Consistent audio now.
Because we scrunched together some money from the couch cushions. From between the couch cushions, we managed to put together some money and buy some real mics.
There you go.
Eventually, maybe you'll get real sound, but till that time...
Should be all right.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. From all of us here in Singapore, talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.